Hey guys, Phinn Lynch here from the PPG Pokemon A team. I just won a League Cup with Toad Garb yesterday, and I'm just going to profile the deck for you guys and tell you guys what I would change and how the deck worked for me. Alright, so this is the whole thing. Sorry, there's a little bit of a glare on the Pokemon, but that's the whole list, and I'm going to go through each of the parts of it kind of individually. So to start with Pokemon, I played 3 Toad. I didn't really like 3 Toad, actually. I wish I played 4. I prized 1 a lot, and it ended up being a big pain in the butt, so I definitely would go up to 4 Toad if I was going to play this deck again. 3 Trubbish was really good. It helped to get them into play early on. This deck kind of has a hard time getting Garbodor into play by turn 2. It didn't happen very much, actually. So I definitely like that there's at least 3 Trubbish. And then the list that got second at Costa Mesa, that was me. The list that got top 4 at Costa Mesa actually played 3 Garbodor. I just played 2 so that you could fit the 3rd Shaman, but I could see why he played the 3rd because it was kind of hard to get it into play, so I don't mind that change. But I kind of do mind that change though, because like 2 Shaman was amazing. So I'm really happy that I adjusted the list for that reason, because it's kind of hard to hit the everything you need for the turn 2. Like ideally you want to go like N, Garbotoxin, Quaking Punch on your 2nd turn, and it's really hard to get like all of that together. So I found the 2nd Shaman to be really helpful with that. And then 1 Lele's fine. I don't think you need any more than that because it's a Garbodor deck, so yeah, 1 works. 4N is crucial. You want to be able to disrupt your opponent's hand at a lot of different points throughout the game. It's really good to end turn 1. It's really good to end like towards the late game repeatedly. It's just a solid draw supporter in general. Yeah, Toad Garb works really well with N in general. 3 Sycamore was kind of lame, honestly. I felt like I wanted to cut at least 1 Sycamore for like a Cynthia or something else. But yeah, discarding resources is really painful for this deck, so I didn't really like 3 Sycamore, honestly. 2 Colress was really good. I think that's definitely the count. This deck was pretty heavy on draw cards, and I like that a lot, so yeah, it worked really well for me. I barely dead drew with the deck at all, so yeah, I think 2 Colress is definitely the way to go, especially in a meta full of Zoroarks. 1 Cynthia was fine. I think it's just kind of a consistency thing. Like, you have a full 4N and then 3 Sycamore and then 1 Cynthia, and it's more just like so that you have consistency with draw rather than because it's a good option, because it really isn't like that good of an option. Usually you'd rather just like Colress or Sycamore or N or something like that. It's more just like a decent consistency card. So yeah, 1 Cynthia was fine. I might play 2 and like cut a Sycamore for it or something. But yeah, Acerola was good. Yeah, it's definitely really strong in this deck because it's like a denial-based deck, really defensive deck, so it's nice to be able to heal Toads repeatedly, especially when your opponent's down to like 2 prizes. It's really important to be able to like pick up a Toad with some damage on it. So yeah, I found Acerola to be very good and pretty necessary because this list doesn't have scoop-ups or anything like that. 1 Guzma. I would have liked 2. I definitely would have liked 2. Seems like pretty much everybody's cutting down to just 1 Guzma and expanded at this point. That or they're playing like Mahone's build with no Verse Seekers, and they're playing like 4 Guzma. But for most decks, it's just 1 is normal, and I think that's fine. Like, there's other supporters that are just too strong, and it's hard to fit in more than 1 Guzma, I'd say. So I was like okay with it, but it'd be really nice to get a 2nd one in there. Getsus was really weak, actually. The only reason I'm like probably going to keep it in the list is just because it's really good to Getsus before you Grenade Hammer, because this list does play Waters. So like, if you're ever going to Grenade Hammer, it's really good to Getsus first, because usually your opponent is sitting on a bunch of items, and they'll just be able to play all of them down as soon as you stop using Quaking Punch. So that's mostly why Getsus is here. I used it turn 1 like 3 times throughout the cup, and it didn't get me anything most of the time. So I definitely don't like it for like the turn 1 reason. It's mostly just for the Grenade Hammer option. And then I guess it can also be a draw card if you need it to be. Flagrant was really, like, well, it was okay. I'm considering cutting it. I'm not sure. I feel like Plumeria might be good, but also discarding 2 cards is really rough with this deck. Like, there's not very many cards that it's easy to just discard, so I think Flagrant might be better than Plumeria. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it was cool for like the Lycanroc decks, because you can, like pop off one of their basic fightings as because like Enhanced Hammer can't do that. So it's just good against decks that like play basic energy. So I probably wouldn't cut it, because like, you want to have something for those decks. Like, if you cut that entirely, I think you just lose to decks that play more than like 4 basic energy. Nest Ball was actually pretty good. I use Nest Ball a lot, but then again, I kind of just wish it was a 4th Toad. I just grabbed Toad a lot of the time too. I mean, I grabbed Trubbish a good amount of the time, but it would have been better as a 4th Toad in my opinion. Calm Search is definitely this ace spec of choice just because like it searches DC out turn 2, really consistent. This deck has some consistency issues sometimes, so I think that is definitely the supporter to play. I think it's the first place seniors list at Costa Mesa for this deck played Rockard, and that's not the way to go in my opinion. Connor Peterson played this deck at the same League Cup, and he got 2nd, I believe, and he told me that he really just wished the Rockard was Calm Search, and Dowsing is not going to work either, I don't think. Stretcher is good. Like, you need to pick up parts of your Garbodor line sometimes if you have to Sycamore them away. Sometimes it's nice to pick up like your Lele if you have to discard it or something like that. It's just a decent recovery card. You can shuffle cards back into your deck if you're getting close to decking out, which actually happened to me one of my games, so yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that card. Fury Belt's really good in this deck. Zoroark caps out at like 210 damage because that's full bench with Skyfield in play and Choice Band. So you put them 10 damage out of range for taking a one-shot, so this really helps in the Zoroark matchup. And then also if Night March is played at all, it's super, super helpful against Night March because this deck can actually lose to Night March if you don't play that, believe it or not. 3 Enhanced was really strong. I'm thinking about cutting down to 2 to fit in Xerosic because I figure Xerosic can kind of do the same thing, but yeah, 3 Enhanced was super helpful. I really just want to fit both, honestly. Like, I kind of wanted 4 Enhanced, to be completely honest with you. It's just so good against Zoroark decks. Like, you run them out of DCEs, and then they just can't do anything because you keep punching and they can't puzzle because they're item locked. So, like, you just run Zoroark decks out of all their energy. And any other deck that's just playing 4 DCEs, you can just run them out of energy really easily with 3 Enhanced Hammer. Super, super good. 4 Verse Seekers is a must. I feel like I don't have to explain that really much. Like, obviously it's expanded. Pretty much every deck in expanded plays 4 Verse Seekers. It's really good for picking up 1-ofs and stuff like that, so yeah, definitely got to play 4 of those. 4 Flowstone was also really important because it gives you more consistency with getting the turn 1 or the turn 2 punch, because like you're going to start with stuff other than Toad sometimes. Well, a lot of times. So you're going to need Floatstone to retreat. And then also, you know, if they blow or something, you need more tools to put down, and that's pretty much the tool that you want on Garbodor kind of all the time. So yeah, it's really good. Just max out that count. I don't think 3 would have been very good. 4 lasers, obviously a must. Toad does like very little damage without lasers, so that's a big part of, you know, how you actually do enough damage to knock things out. I want to fit Shadow Triad in here so you can recover it, but definitely could not play less than 4 lasers. You need 4, absolutely. And then 4 Ultra Balls, pretty obvious. Like, almost every deck plays 4 Ultra Ball, so I don't really need to explain that. Gotta play 3 Verbank because Zoroark can get rid of all your stadiums if you only play 2, so that's really important. You're just gonna win the stadium more of the time when you play 3, and you need the extra damage with laser. Yeah, 2 would not be enough at all in my opinion. And then I play 4 DC, of course, and then 3 water. I like water energy. I wish there was more though. I feel like 3 is pretty slim, especially with no Super Rod in this list, so I'd say 4 would be a lot more ideal, but 3 was alright. I got Grenade Hammers off for sure. I definitely used Grenade Hammer like several times throughout the event. But yeah, that's about it for the list. I'm just going to talk about matchups really quick, and then that'll be it. So throughout the event, I played 8 rounds total. That's 5 in Swiss and then 3 throughout Top Cut. And I played against Zoroark decks for 6 out of those 8 rounds. So I was expecting a lot of Zoroark, and this deck is like probably the best deck for beating Zoroark. Garbodor is pretty good at beating Zoroark, and Glaceon's pretty good at beating Zoroark, but the thing is, Glaceon's more inconsistent, and then Garbodor, they can just play a second blower, and then it doesn't even really beat it consistently, so I felt like this was probably like the only way to actually beat Zoroark consistently, so that's why I went with this. And I only lost to Zoroark one of the rounds. I tied to it one of the rounds too, but those were just because... So when I lost to it, I was just messing around, like I was just having fun. I was already guaranteed for Top Cut, and I was just like, oh, I'll just play against this guy for fun. And so I was just making all these goofy plays and like mistakes and stuff like that. So that's why I lost to him. I wanted to see if I could like... I was pretty much testing. I just wanted to see like what plays or what routes I could take and potentially win that I hadn't tried before, and they didn't work out, so I got 2 out. And then I tied to Zoroark Lycanroc. I think it was like the top 8 list that Joey Rudiger and Caleb Gettimer played. I tied to it because I forgot he had Bunnelby in play, and I got down to 2 cards left in deck, and he top decked DC, and he burrowed me twice, so we won one of the games like that. So that was kind of embarrassing, but yeah. And the other 2 decks I faced were Buzzwole Lycanroc, and I think that matchup is like kind of, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's definitely not good. He lost the first game because he like just dead drew a lot, and then game 2 he like drew fairly well, and it didn't look like he was like too much of an lead. I think I actually was probably going to win the second game too, but we just didn't finish the second game. Oh yeah, by the way, my Swiss rounds were best of 3. That's why I got that tie against Zoroark, and that's why I beat Buzzrock 1-0, which, yeah, anyway, you get it. And then I played against Garbodor in finals, and it was my friend Reggie, and he just let me take the win because he like didn't need the points, and I'm trying to get top 16. So, but yeah, that's not a good matchup either. I think if we would have played it out, he would have won. So, yeah. But yeah, I like this deck a lot. It's one of my top 2 options for Salt Lake City regionals. But I'm probably just gonna go back to focusing on standard now because Brazil's the next event. But yeah, if you want to see, content related to this sort of thing, you can go on my website, cuttertap.com. I talk about this deck for like 1,000 words in my newest article, and I talk about other stuff like that, so be sure to check that out, and if you want any coaching, you can hit me up at cuttertap@gmail.com. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Oh, shout out to Pro Play Games, of course.